I was bored making not movies. I really wanted to do movies again. And I felt so around 2020, let me do some movies. Went back to Germany from Canada. We lived in Canada. I went back to Germany. And then COVID came and I was more delay making anything. But since now 2-3 years, I did a lot, like First Shift, like a crime thing. Now Run with Amanda Plummer, Citizen Vigilante with Armie Hammer comes up. I'm very busy right now doing a project, but it's not easy. It's like the world changed. No more Blu-ray DVD sales. So that's not so easy now today. Yeah. I feel the same way. I think it's a club and the rich get richer. That's no problem to shelf out 100 million for like the new Matt Damon Ben Affleck movie, and where they're making at least 10-15 million dollars. That's no problem. But at the same time, they don't want to give, for example, royalties. Like, so my movie Rampage did 3.8 million views on Netflix, but they paid me $75,000 for 1 year. And then you say like, okay, we are, I think, number 1,300 from 20,000 productions, right? At Netflix, when they did the data dump, where they explain how much views. You know how many movies made way less as Rampage, but they paid 30, 40, 50, 60 million for it? Thousands. So, and I think at least when you're an independent filmmaker and you sell it to Netflix, in the case that it gets traction, you should get money. Paramount Plus, they had First Shift, my cop movie from New York, 20 weeks in the top 10 in the US at Paramount Plus. They paid $150,000. That's it. And Taylor Sheridan gets $150,000 per day ordering a coffee from them. Like, so where you think like, that's injustice. I think right now the film industry is doing this. They destroy independent filmmakers. They destroy independent films. And they give a shit. They give their production companies all the money. All the stars now have production companies because they recognize it's way easier. I produce something where I'm the lead actor and boom, you get a contract. Brad Pitt, whatever. Like, they're all getting millions and millions and millions in like, because they're stars means not that they're also good producers, but they don't care. They call Ted Sarandos and get the money. I think that system, when the videos were still working, Blu-ray and DVD, it was way more democracy because people could pick things better. They can rent things. They gave also smaller movies a chance. Now, also you get hidden, right? It's not like an Uwe Boll film comes on Netflix and I'm in the top 5 new releases. I'm like position 30. What nobody sees, only if they scroll and scroll and scroll. So also injustice. I mean, Alone in the Dark, I think, got a little sidetracked, the first one, because Atari made a game similar to my movie, but it got shut down. They never released it. And the movie came, and everybody flipped out on me. Why it's not more H.P. Lovecraft, the 30s, like why is it more a monster action movie? And it got bad reviews. And I felt that's not okay from any side. So now I contacted THQ Nordic, who made the last game, and they said, look, if you make a movie more like the real older playing in the 30s, mental asylum, kind of more horror, we give you the rights. And we signed the contract. Now we can make another Alone in the Dark movie. And we're looking for, of course, financing and everything to get it done. But now I think that's the only thing that is right now better. Now a lot of video game-based movies getting done. And I hope we get the money together. The thing with the reviews also is, on House of the Dead, I got the worst reviews, but it made a lot of money. And the best is that the reviewers always wrote what a flop it was. What a flop. No, it was like 8 million budget, but it made like 40 million in sales on DVD, on Blu-ray, theatrical. They always judge only the theatrical. They said, 13 million theatrical. That's not enough. But you have to see the DVDs and Blu-rays, and there were millions and millions. So, and that's the thing where I think always they see it a little wrong. I mean, with the reviews also, you go to Rotten Tomatoes, you think all my movies are shit. You go to Amazon, 4 points, 3.9, 4.2. So the audience sees it a little different, how my movies are. So, and I think in the very end, the audience matters more as Rotten Tomatoes, what is owned by a major studio. We shouldn't forget that. IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes are owned by the studio system. The movies now, I think it's very uneven. I think the first wave with the big movies, Prince of Persia, World of Warcraft, they were all shit. I hated them movies. I think like, what the fuck? They spend so much money and it's really bad. And Assassin's Creed also, I just didn't like it. I liked the first Silent Hill movie, but I didn't like the second Silent Hill movie, and I didn't watch the new Silent Hill movie so far. I cannot really judge the new one, but the first one I liked. Hitman I liked, was not bad, the first Hitman movie. And I had Hitman, right? The rights. I had the Hitman, and Jason Statham won playing. And then we couldn't get it together. Totally absurd. Now they would give me so much money if I would have Jason Statham as Hitman. But then it went to France, and they did that as a Hitman movie. But to make series out of it, like The Last of Us or Fallout, is maybe a good idea. Because you can tell the stories longer and more real. In Alone in the Dark, the video game company told me 9 movie. And there are other video game companies also, they don't want TV series. I don't know why. Maybe they think that hurts the sales of the game. Maybe they found that out. I mean, a very bad TV series of your movie could also really destroy your game. If people then watch the show and then they say like, now I hate the game also. So it's a risk for a video game company. And but the reviews got better. I think they put more development and they're really looking deeper into it. Now Far Cry gets turned into a series. Resident Evil is turned into a series. And we will see how this goes. I don't know. We have to watch it when it's finished. Yeah. It's very, very tough. I mean, we developed 1 or 2 TV series, but it also didn't work because then the streamer or whatever says you need the lead actress, right? So now you go to Jessica Chastain or whatever, like a big actress, and the agent says you need to pay, right? I say, yeah, but I cannot pay. I need the name first. Then Netflix maybe gives us money for 8 episodes, but they don't do it. And then you read like Jessica Chastain is doing this. With producers she knows. With producers, she's maybe part of the production team. And so you also don't get actors anymore. Like the real big actors you don't get. I asked Jason Statham, and I worked with him, right? 20 million for a movie now. 20 million. I mean, sorry, but that's insane. Tom Cruise got 20 million, like when he was like on top of the world, So I think that's all very bad, and you're not getting proper actors. A lot of actors now also just make a lot of money because they do TV series. You do like 8 episodes as an actor, you get paid for 3-4 months, and then you make millions. And if you make an independent movie for 10 days, then you basically get every day, whatever. Let's say Ethan Hawke, Mark Ruffalo, as an example. I think 10 years ago, you could get these guys for like 10, 15,000 a day, right? Also good money. You would get them for $150,000, maybe for 7-8 days to put them in your movie. Now, 1 million for 10 days. For these actors, they're great actors, but they're not stars, right? If you have an Ethan Hawke movie, it's not that they're lining up here at the multiplex theater. So that's a big problem. The streamers, they dominate. Basically, Silicon Valley is swallowing Hollywood, like right now. There will be no more moguls, top producers who went in the risk. It's all like bureaucracy, tech companies, and algorithms. Amazon gives you always like a sheet you need to fill out what they put in the computer. They don't even read the script. It's like it's all going through like first a computer AI check. Let's face it, the streamers, when you send them something, they feeding their AI before any human looks at the project. That's already a very harsh knockout for a lot of scripts. What is it? When I did the script I do this 23 years later, that Zombie Island thing, right? So I sent it to Lionsgate because they have House of the Dead. And they said, yeah, the script got only 5 out of 10. And the script report says it's kind of stupid. I said, yeah, but it's the whole point. You cannot make a new House of the Dead movie with the same cast and try to make a horror masterpiece. You have to keep the style. It has to be campy. The people have to make mistakes where the audience is like, what the fuck? Like stuff like this. So we wrote it in that style of House of the Dead. And then you don't pass any test. Because they all want now the super twisty horror movies where everybody said, oh, masterpiece, whatever, right? So, but that limits the horror genre. And I like The Last Final Destination because it's fun to watch how absurd that killings get, right? That's the point. And if you don't, like, I'm sure they never put it in a computer because it's a franchise from the studio, right? But if you would put that in a reader's report would highly unlikely, that could never happen, that would come back from the reader's report. But that's the whole point, that things happen sometimes where you say, I cannot believe it, that how this tower crashes in the end and kills everybody, right? And it starts so small. So, but that's the whole point of Final Destination. In all the Final Destinations, the best scenes are the stuff where out of a little shit, the massacre will happen. I know from MGM, for example, the people that work there, that they're very unhappy since Amazon swallowed them up. Because it's all about like sales. It's nothing about that's a great idea, let's do it, right? So, and that's, these times are over. Yeah, I mean, besides Postal was a license, but we gave a shit because the game gives a shit, So Postal was extreme freedom. I think in a video game-based movie, you cannot go too political, right? So because then the game company, they don't want this. But in the other movies, I like movies like Rampage, where you have the action, but you have also a political message or a political impact to it. So the movies I write myself are all like kind of have to do with reality. South of Wall Street with the banking crash, Darfur with the genocide in Sudan, Tunnel Rats about the Vietnam War. So I like making fiction movies, but about real subject matters. Yeah, there was no experience. There was like everybody shot their movies separate from each other. And then they basically stole our movies. I mean, I never got any money back, right? I went to Steve Biro over from Unearthed, the distributor in the US, and said, okay, but wasn't it the idea that we're getting percentages paid back? But we didn't get anything back. I didn't even get a free DVD. So I could shut the movie down if I sue them, but I don't, because whatever now, right? But it was a very negative experience because all the producers in between, they dropped the ball, they didn't pay the bills. So I paid with Clint Howard, the short film, myself, and I never got the money back. I didn't get any money, like zero. No, I liked this combination. The trailer was kick ass and stuff, and I felt like let's do this. But it was very disappointing because I had like Chance Minter and other people. They also invested their work, and also they didn't get really paid. So, and I felt like that's kind of unfair. You promise somebody, if I get $100, you get $40, you get $30 from it, and then there's absolutely no money. The same. No. I mean, you get older and you get like more into like maybe subject matters that are a little different, you know. But I feel the style, like my Citizen Vigilante film, what I did with Armie Hammer, is really like Death Wish meets Rampage meets Falling Down, this kind of film. I like this kind of more gritty. Also, I have no problem with violence and stuff like this. And I think these films are rare. I think the streamers, they also do violent stuff, but they always make sure the guys are the good guys and they win or whatever. You know, they don't have this moral, ambitious stuff. And in my film, like Armie Hammer is not only good. He's doing some good things, but he's doing also some really bad things. And you think like, well, you know, so I wanted a more indifferent character. That's the reason the original title I used Dark Knight, but then Warner Brothers shut me down on Dark Knight, you know, because I wanted to do the interpretation of Dark Knight being a dark character, but being also a lifesaver. So he saves people in killing people and stuff like this, but it all gets like in a way mixed up. You know, that the audience also at one point would say, that's a little too much. No, you know, like where you feel like, what the fuck, you know? So that was the reason I liked the Dark Knight title for the film, what I then couldn't use.